Hello. What we'll be doing in this video is covering electrical legends for the electrical plan. All right. So first things first. Um, First symbol coming up is going to be our box with the word TV or letters TV inside it. That is going to be your typical TV jack, cable jack. All right. That is the jack where you connect your wire to give cable to your TV. Um, that typically is going to be going wherever you want a TV, whether it's going to be a bedroom, a family room, a theater room. Um, some people want TVs in their kitchen or whatever place they're going to want. The customer is going to want a TV. All right, so that's going to be your TV cable jack. The next one is going to be a little triangle symbol. That's going to be called our dual line phone jack. So this is going to be your landline. I know a lot of people don't use landlines anymore, but it's always safe than sorry to put it in there, only for the fact that resale value. You never know who's going to buy this house down the line. If they're an elderly person or someone that does like to have landlines, not a big fan of cell phones, that is very important, and that can be a big difference between selling a house and not selling a house. So it is very important to have a few phone jacks inside your plan. All right, and phone jacks are usually going to go in your master bedroom, some place that has a lot of access, where there's a lot of traffic. So it could be like a family or living room, or maybe even a hallway. And then depending on the parents, they may want their kids to have a phone in their house or in their room, depending on their age. They may not. You may want to think about having a phone jack in the kitchen. You know, there's a lot of people that like to cook, and then when they're cooking, they want to call somebody for whatever reason. So kitchen might be a good place to have a phone as well. All right. The next symbol is going to be our outlet. That is going to be the circle with the two lines going through it. That is going to be the outlet 120. So that's your run-of-the-mill everyday outlet that you use to charge your phone, to plug your TV into, charge your laptops and computers, whatever case may be. That is your typical outlet. All right. Outlets usually go 1 foot off of the floor, and I like to put them about 2 to 4 feet away from the corners of a wall. Now, um, depending on the size of the wall, you may want to have more than two outlets on it. I like to try and keep at least a minimum of two outlets um, per major wall. That way, there's more. Well, at the end of the day, no one's ever complained for having too many outlets. You usually hear, oh, this house doesn't have enough outlets, or this room doesn't have enough outlets. It's better to have more than less. All right. Next one would be our special outlets. All right. So that is anything that is not a 120 outlet. It could be a 240 or anything bigger, or whatever the case may be, anything special. This outlet is going to be the all of those summed into one. So instead of having a list of every single individual outlet, I summed it into one and say, hey, this is for special outlets. The electrical engineer needs to come in and figure out whatever item or whatever is going to be there, and figure out how much power it needs, and then you use the appropriate voltage outlet to go there. All right, so that kind of takes the weight off of your shoulder, but you still need to know where to place that. All right. Next one is going to be our outlet symbol with the letters GFI out on it. That is going to stand for ground fault interrupter, or so GFI, or you can see GFIC. You know, both of them basically mean the same thing. And that is going to be the outlet that goes next to any type of water source that is inside the house. So in your kitchens, in your restrooms, in your mud rooms, wherever you're gonna have running water and an outlet next to it or near it, it has to be GFI. All right? Why? What GFI does, or what the ground fault interrupter does, is if the let's say you're using a tool, all right? You're using a tool and you have your hand inside water for whatever reason, and you're using a tool with your other hand, and the tool falls into the water and pulls a massive amount of electricity and starts shocking you. Well, if the shock is strong enough where you can't pull your hand out, there's just that much power going in, the outlet senses, or there's a sensor there that says, hey, we're pulling in too much juice. It flips the switch on the breaker and cuts the power to that outlet, therefore saving your life. All right. Other way to think about it, bad example, but kind of the best one to use. Think of any old school horror movie where someone or something happens due to someone passes away or something happens to someone due to an electrical shock in a restroom. All right. Well, back then GFI didn't exist, so this is gonna be the save the day kind of outlet when you're near water. All right. And once again, inside your house, near any type of running water source. All right. The next one is the outlet with a WP. That is going to be waterproof. So this one goes on the outside of the house and is same thing, going to be about 1 foot off of the floor. And this one has a metal or plastic panel on the inside. So when water hits this outlet, it just hits it and runs down. It does not allow the water to run into the outlet, therefore causing shortages. It has that plate there to basically reject the water. So I wouldn't say it's waterproof, but it is water resistant. All right. After that, we have some modifiers here. We have our A through H. These are modifiers to our outlets. So A would be our outlet 10 inches above any counter, whether it's a restroom counter, a kitchen counter, a counter for tools in a garage or in a shop or something like that. It is going to be 10 inches above a counter. All right. We have B, which is an outlet at a dishwasher height. So for the dishwasher, stove, refrigerator, oven, trash disposal, water heater, and washer dryer. So basically B through H, all of them are for letting the electrician know, hey, put this outlet at the correct height for this specific item. Mainly because let's say the refrigerator, for instance. Refrigerators are about 6-7 feet tall, depending on the refrigerator, and can be anywhere from 24 to let's say 48 inches wide. All right, so that's a lot of space to cover, and you have an outlet that can be in any location on that backside of the refrigerator. So depending on the manufacturer, it can be placed in different locations. So the electrician needs to figure out what type of refrigerator is going to be there, and then put an outlet at a decent height so they can connect that refrigerator easily. All right. So that's just an example, but that example goes for B through H. Now, how would you use these? All right. So just like the GFI and the waterproof, I would be able to copy this. And let's say it was for a washer, a dishwasher. I can come in and place it in any corner near the outlet and we're good. All right, that would be it. So you don't just leave the symbol, the letter, you have to have the outlet next to it. You could even do it for a GFI or waterproof. You can copy the GFI, place it wherever you needed it, and say, hey, I need that at a counter or above a counter. All right, so that's how that would work. All right, I'll be going more detailed into using these symbols when I get to the plan part of the video, but that will most likely be a separate video to keep, that way I don't have a really long video, I can have two shorter ones. All right, next would be our switches. So we have our S, which is our single pole switch. Now, this is where a lot of confusion happens, but the best way to know what a single pole switch, it is an individual switch that controls a set or a single or multiple sets of fixtures. All right. So it's one switch and a set of fixtures, whether it's multiple lights, whether it's multiple fans, whether it's fans and lights, whatever the case may be, that switch controls multiple items, and it's a communication that goes in two ways, from switch to items, items to switch. All right, doesn't matter how many items, those items can be considered one entity, and it's switch to items, items to switch. It's a two-way communication, therefore a single pole switch. All right, now I'm not talking about, oh, well, I went into my house and there's a panel with 4 switches. Well, each one of those switches has the possibility of being a single pole switch, depending on its function. All right, so if you flip the switch and it turns whatever entity's on, you flip the switch again and it turns them off, and there's no other way to turn them off or on if that other than that switch being up or down, then it's a single pole switch. If there's no other switch that can activate them. Now the next one, the S with the 3, is our three-way switch. So once again, we have our entity or our amount of fixtures, and this time they're connected to 2 switches. So if I walk into my house, I can turn on the switch from my living room. From entering my house, I can turn the switch, the lights or whatever, to my living room, and then when I walk through my living room and go into my hallway, I can flip a switch and it turns those lights off. So one turns them off, one turns them on. I can switch them back and forth, and it does flip them on and off, back and forth. So it's 2 switch poles and then one entity or one set of fixtures. All right. We have our 4-way switch, which is an entity of fixtures and 3 switch poles. So you can turn on or off these fixtures from 3 different locations, whether it's the back door, the front door, and the hallway, or wherever those locations are. It's three switches and 1 entity of lights, whether it's 1 light, 10 lights, multiple fixtures, whatever the case may be. 3 poles, 3 switch poles, and those entity of fixtures. All right. The last switch would be the dimmer switch, which is going to be either some type of rotating switch or a lever switch that regulates or allows only a certain amount of power to go through to allow the lights to be at various levels of brightness depending on the amount you want that dimmer switch to let through. All right. Now don't be fooled. Not every single light can be a dimmer light. They are special required lights that have that ability. You can't just put any old light and with a dimmer switch, because it won't always work. All right, the light bulb has to have the ability to be able to dim. All right, moving on, we have our recessed light. So the recessed light is the light that's usually flush with the ceiling. That can go in any various locations. We have our pendant light. So pendant light is the light that hangs from the ceiling. You can see those in restaurants like Cheddar's, Applebee's, any Roadhouse, um, Chili's or whatever the case may be. Most restaurants have pendant lights. It's going to be the one that hangs from one pole and then has the light. It's usually going to be over your dining table that you're going to be eating at. All right, so that's a pendant light. We have a single wall fixture light. So think of these as the lights you have outside attached to your garage door or something. It's going to be just one fixture with a single light bulb, and that's it. All right, whether the light bulb is covered or not covered, whatever the case, it's just a fixture with one light bulb. We have a chandelier. We have a two light fixture. All right, that can be hanging or whatever the case may be, however you want to use it. We have a single light fixture that can be used however you want to use it. We have a waterproof recessed light. So this light will be on the outside and can be in a patio, in a porch, or wherever it is needed. But it will be flush with that ceiling that it's going to be attached to. We have a two light wall fixture. So you can see these in restrooms over your sink. Now I have it as a two. You could always modify it and make three by just adding another circle with a pole and attaching it and changing the description. You can make it a 3, make it a 4, whatever the case may be, however you wanted it. And just make sure whatever you use in your plan, electrical plan, whatever symbols you use, you add it to this list for this legend. We have our light with a vent. That's usually going to be used in the restrooms to suck up any fumes or steam, whatever, out of the house. We have our fan with lights and our fan without lights. We have motion sensor security lights. So those are usually hardwired to the house and are going to be under your eave, attached to the bottom of your roofs, and are going to be outside, obviously sensing whatever animals or people or whatever motion is going on outside your house and hopefully scare them away. We have our 2 and 4 foot fluorescent lights. So the fluorescent light is usually what you grew up seeing in high schools or any type of grade school, where you have that cylindrical long light bulb in the classroom. All right, so that's what those are. Those, I like to use those in garages, but some people like to have them in hallways, closets, or in kitchens or various locations. It just depends on the customer's wants, but I like to typically use them in garages mainly. You have smoke detectors. So smoke detectors, there's some common sense rules that go with smoke detectors that people seem to forget. Smoke detectors' job is to pick up smoke or detect smoke to warn and alarm the people living in that structure or working in that structure. So smoke alarms, for one, do not go in kitchens or rooms adjacent to the kitchen. So they do not go in kitchens, maybe not the dining room and not the living room, right? Because say someone's cooking in the kitchen and they burn something, well, that smoke can set off the alarm. You don't want that alarm being set off every time someone accidentally burns something. So you do not want smoke alarms in the kitchen, dining room, or rooms adjacent to the kitchen. Now, they do need to go in hallways. All right. So if it's a single-story house, it needs to be in the hallway. If it's a two-story house, it needs to be in hallways in both floors and over the stairway. All right. And then obviously in every single bedroom. So every single bedroom needs to have one, and it is imperative that you put the smoke detector as close to as possible near the door. You do not want this smoke detector by a window on the opposite side of the room, right? You want it as close to the door So when smoke comes up under the door and up to the ceiling, that smoke detector goes off immediately, giving the person in the room as much time as possible to escape. All right. So it needs to be in the bedroom and in the hallways and in the stairways. In the bedroom, it needs to be as close to the door as possible. Now, smoke detectors are going to be attached to the ceiling, and if you do not want them attached to the ceiling, they can they cannot be more than 1 foot down from the ceiling. So this is your ceiling. It cannot be more than 1 foot down. It has to be 1 foot or less um, to the ceiling, or obviously attached to the ceiling. All right. We have our doorbell. So our doorbell is going to be on the interior, or let's say we have an office or something. It can be wherever you want the doorbell to be rung. So that's where you'll put your doorbell. After that, you have your chime. Chimes typically go in a hallway, and like the smoke detector, are usually about a foot away from or within a foot of the ceiling. That way, it's as high as possible to project the sound as far as possible. That way, it can be heard throughout the house. So they're typically in a hallway, but you want them in a location that is usually out of sight because they are a little bit of an eyesore, and you want them to still be heard throughout the house. All right. Thermostat, same thing, typically in the hallway, and that one will be at eye level. All right. Moving on, we have our floor outlet. So it's another type of outlet that you would place on your floor. These are typically gonna be in a family room, a living room, a theater room, maybe outside in the back porch or something. Um, for cases where people have a need for it on the outside or on the inside, if you have a couch with a refrigerator in it or some type of device like that, where you want it more central to the room and it doesn't reach a wall outlet, you can have an outlet on your floor for easy connection, and you don't have wires running all over the place. We have our intercom system. We have our surround sound speaker system for the house. We have our rope lights. We have surround sound speakers for the entertainment system, could be even for a theater room. And then we have our cameras. Now, with the cameras and the rope lights, wherever you're going to have cameras and rope lights, you need to have some type of outlet right near it or right next to it so it can connect directly to it. All right. Cameras are, even though they're hardwired or wireless, they still need some type of form of electricity to power them. Because of that, you need to have an outlet next to your camera. All right. So that is basically it for your legends. As I stated earlier, if you find anything that you would want to use in your electrical plan because you want them in your house, make sure you add it to this legend. If you want to modify something, if you want to add something, if you want to remove something, make sure you do so that make sure you do so and make sure whatever you add is on this legend so that we are aware of what everything is, so that no one is lost and it's as smooth process and transition from when doing your electrical as possible. If you have any questions or you need if you are curious about anything, you can email me or call me or get in contact with whoever is instructing your course.